Welcome to the Feminae Christi podcast, a labor of universal love in service to restoring the divine feminine principle, spoken through wisdom, eternal love, and devotion to immaculate truth. I'm your host, Salwa, here in sacred devotion to walking this journey with you, not from a place of above or below, but from within. Hi, welcome to the Feminae Christi podcast, episode 8. I have missed you guys, and I know that I don't see you guys, but just transmitting to you. I've missed it. It's been 3 weeks since the last episode because I was hosting ceremonial retreat, and I try to really publish these timely every 2 weeks. However, if I'm hosting a retreat in sacred space, that always takes front burner, and it is very reverently held, intense work before, during, and after. And then there's the act of me returning from where I need to go to do what I need to do to bring it to the souls that I am holding space for. And I come back and I'm like, what is time? What is this illusion of which they speak? So I didn't even realize it's been 3 weeks. But now that I get to sit here and record, I'm like, oh my God, yes, it's time. So excited because I really am getting to know you guys. You guys are reaching out, you're sending questions, you're engaging, and that makes this so much more rewarding because although I'm holding this container, this is a container, just so you know, if you're new here, these are energetic transmissions. So you're going to receive from my words, but you're also receiving energetically. And each episode has sequential order. It's beneficial, but you don't have to watch in order, especially at this point. However, I do recommend going back to the beginning because they do build on each other. You'll be able to receive deeper. And honestly, if you watch an episode again, you're probably going to receive it differently. That's how it works when there's an energetic container open. If you are listening on podcast platforms, know that you can also watch on video on Spotify and YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube and you rather listen, go on any podcast platform and you'll find me. Now, just to quickly recap, last week's episode was Journey to the Crucifixion for the Good. The good being God. God referred to as the good is how I like to really paint the picture. It's for the good of all, for the God of all. And it was the Stations of the Cross, but from a higher intelligence level so that you can understand what was being exemplified for us to attain wisdom in and not so much to just feel like we're just watching Yeshua suffer. I encourage you to watch it if you have not. Don't feel like you have to be Christian or religious. As you know by now, if you've been listening, I am not here for religion. I am here for Christ consciousness, the religion of love. Who doesn't want that, right? The religion of universal love and light. And that's what Yeshua was exemplifying. So go listen. Now, I received a question from a listener, and she asked about suffering. She asked if I could talk more on suffering because it seems that suffering gets glorified by, I think she said religion. Her words were something along this line, and I got it like 3 weeks ago, so I'm going to just remember off the top of my head the best that I can. But she was asking about suffering because she perceives that religion glorifies suffering and makes you feel like if you suffer, you're going to be rewarded for it. Now, I did talk about suffering at one of the Stations of the Cross, and it was important to know that as long as we're on this realm, we might suffer. But I think it's important to understand suffering in a deeper way, beyond the story of suffering in the human experience and what we perceive as suffering. So I'm going to talk about that, and I'm also going to share a personal story on what I would call probably my initiation into the deepest suffering, my first real massive loss, heartbreak, because I want to take you through that loss with me. This is my stillbirth. I was 8 months pregnant and I lost that child and I went to delivery, and I'm going to save this story for the end. You're going to come with me to my stillbirth. Yay. And I'm going to be able to share that story with you from that time and space, but then show you the graduation of the suffering that ushered in as far as growth, love, light. So, I like to teach by example. I can talk whatever, but if I have lived examples, I'm going to bring them as much as possible because we have to know that it can be done and how it's done. I'm not going to teach you how to suffer. I'm just saying I'm going to teach you a new perspective on suffering. So, on to her question about suffering. And I think this is important because I'm sure there are listeners out there. My daughter used to ask this all the time. She had this idea that God was just going to continue to punish her because her life was going so bad in her mind. And I'm not saying that it wasn't. I just don't want to put words to her experience. And she was always afraid that God's going to punish her because she is not happy. And she keeps saying things like, I just want to die. I hate life. I have her permission to talk about this, by the way. And then she would enter fear. Is God just going to punish me now for not being grateful to be here? And I'm like, okay, Izzy, do you think that God's just this man in like this toga and sandals, just waiting to see all the ways he can punish you? And also, why is he a he? So we got into that conversation. But meanwhile, I am fully aware that although she's a teenager asking these things, there's got to be a lot of people in the human pool wondering why suffering? What is the point of suffering? If we have this God, this good, this source, and it's so divine, and we're here to be love and light, then how are these things happening? How can we really believe that that is true, that there's a higher order keeping everything in divine order when we are over here and like shit's hitting the fan for some of us? Like, how can you please explain? So I'm going to explain the best that I can and just know that I'm going to give you perspective, but I am aware that there is a wide range of suffering. So let's start with this. Have you noticed that when people suffer for superficial reasons, it is very well accepted? You go to the gym, you're like lifting, you're like pushing it, you get sore, you're like, yeah, like the burn is good. The push is good. Let's look at some of the procedures that, mostly women get done to look younger. All the poking, all the pooling, I don't know, all the burn, I don't know whatever they do. It hurts, right? The whole expression beauty means pain. That's accepted. So why is it that we accept suffering for the outer, but when it shows up for the inner, that's when we question God? I've never seen anybody question God at the gym, like, God, where are you? Because my thighs are burning. Like, it's just like, yeah, right? So how come we are more empowered through pain when it's for superficial reasons, for the outer, but the inner is when we start to question? So I just want to plant that question so we can understand that there's this gap that we need to bridge. Now, I think suffering, when it shows up to test our faith, is like our resistance training for our muscle of faith. And one of the things that is so important to remember is that we came to this planet to experience a wide range of emotions. And as above, so below. We couldn't come here and design this experience from our higher self and be like, I'm just going to feel all the good feels and I'm just going to leave those out. We're not going to let you come down with that agreement. You came down here because you wanted to experience all the emotions. Now, I will tell you this without getting too out there, but when I travel to some of the higher dimensions, I'm talking beyond fifth, beyond seventh, I've gone beyond seventh, there starts to be no emotion. There's no emotion. And it's really difficult actually to go past a certain point and feel that you're more becoming like information. There's a space beyond 5D. I don't want to give it a number. There's a lot of dimensions beyond the fifth where you just are information, where you are just light dust and you are just like a formula. And I don't want to like make it sound like it's horrible. It's not horrible. There's amazing things going on up there. But that emotional body doesn't go there. It doesn't exist there. And not having that, I can see why it's like, send me back. I want to go down there. I want to have the full range of emotions. I want to experience what it's like to slow down my frequency enough to have a body. Because can you imagine you're up there and you have no form and you're like, if I had form, what would it look like? So it is a bit of a lucrative experience to get to be here. And I know right now there seems to be a lot of suffering on our planet, but it's not new suffering, it's new exposure of suffering. So let's understand that you are here for this pivotal, exciting time. But furthermore, let's understand that at some point when you were beyond suffering, you were not having the experiences that come with the emotional being, and the emotional being is part of the human being. So you can't come down here and be an elitist with emotions. You agree to experience all that is part of the, we'll call it experiment, the human experiment. The full range of emotions, are you contracting with your soul to experience that and grow from that and live out karma as needed? Yes, check. The other, are you willing, ready, and able to understand that you must navigate your way and ascend, or you might be stuck in a karmic loop? Yes, you've agreed to come and experience the full range of emotions. And our path to soul mastery includes emotional mastery. It's one of the bodies. Now we have other, the mental, the causal, the etheric. Like there's different bodies that we have to master and integrate to truly ascend out of here, or even to ascend and be here. However, the emotional one, that is a big, beautiful human experience, which we're going to call the human experiment. The other one, free will. So you are coming down here knowing that there is divine will, but when you're here, you kind of get this like hall pass where divine will is in place, but we're going to give you in this experimental human thing, in this experimental human simulation, you get to play with free will. But with free will comes choices that have consequences, and there are emotions that will either lead your choices or that will come as consequences. It's part of the game. You have like the playing board of planet Earth, and you have all the things that you are going to get to use in your toolkit. Well, free will is the biggest one. So part of having free will and being in this human experiment, and don't get all weird when I call it experiment. We're not like little experiment rats. We're beautiful humans with a soul having an experience. But when I say experiment, it's because not all planets and many of the other universes do not have free will. So we're special in that way, but that comes with a lot of responsibility. You want to have free will, you're going to bring amongst yourself this wide spectrum of emotions, which, can be great, beautiful, but can also be really hard. And then it can lead you to use your free will in more negative ways. So then it's up to you to not go in a downward spiral, but to spiral it up. And it's just knowing that you came down here with all of this freedom. So while you might feel like you're a prisoner of your suffering, please understand that you are not a prisoner of it, because the majority of it we are bringing to ourselves by how we perceive the information around us, and information being actions that we've taken, that others are taking towards us, the actions happening in the world that we are perceiving as ours. And although it's hard because we want to have compassion, do you need to be in the suffering energy of somebody in a whole different country, or can you be in your light and hold them in prayer? So that kind of suffering. So back to my first point, it's so much easier to receive suffering when it's for the outer than it's for the inner. Now, the way I perceive suffering and the way I identify it that I want to share with you is this. Suffering is an emotional read when your light is alchemizing dark. It's an emotional read. We are here to alchemize dark. We're here to alchemize density. Hence the process of coming down here. We were high vibrating light. We had to kind of slow down our vibration enough to be able to have a body, a vessel, and come do this human experiment. And now it's all about the journey of evolution and ascension. And when you are in density and you are breaking free of that density, alchemizing it, which we don't have to call it dark. Let's call it density. When you're alchemizing density to be more in light, to be able to hold more light, it has to release some of that density. The process of releasing density can be perceived as suffering. And now that is in the energetic, but the human experiment wants to see it in form. So your higher self somewhere is, believe it or not, designing some of these experiences for you to have a story in this human experiment that goes with that process. Because it would just not be fun to just be here. All of a sudden, we're just like late. And where's the storyline? Where's the soul lesson that you get to take in your consciousness so that you're not just like floating particles of light? The consciousness measures the soul intelligence. So, okay, I had to slow down my vibration to come down here. I am more dense, had to get semi-fragmented. That is why we're here in the process of remembering. What we're doing is we're remembering fragments of ourselves that had to become separate so that we could attain a physical body and be in this experiment. So now we want to unwind that to return to where we came from. Now remember, I am not like killing you off this experiment when I say return to where you came from. I am an advocate for heaven on earth. So when I say return to where you came from, I mean to your divine self, where you can be here, but you have ascended as much as you can and still be here. You want to return to our divine nature. That is a lot of this experiment is, can the human soul remember its divinity? Can it restore itself? Can it remember its way back to source with free will and with an emotional body that can be so beautiful but so heavy? Will humanity spiral down or will they spiral up? And that right there is what I'm going to focus on talking you through. I like to give the perspective of things from the energetic, and then the physical follows. Everything starts in light, everything starts in energy, the physical follows, but then we reverse it. So as above, so below. So now we're here in the physical, and now we are doing work to be able to be more in our light. So we have to through rewind. It's like the cha-cha slide, one hop this time, reverse. It's like everything you did, now reverse. So we're trying to reverse. We're trying to remember our fragmented self. And in the process of remembering, there are parts that are not going to be united back together because they no longer serve. They were meant to be fragmented, spread out, and in the process of refining and reforming the divine being that you're here to be, there are going to be parts of you that have to just be released. That also can be perceived as suffering because a lot of times we attach parts of us to an experience. So let's say relationship. A lot of people suffer from breakups. Breakups are hard. There is a part of you that was ready to graduate and it couldn't graduate within that relationship. And so the breakup, although it's hard, is part of your graduation because with that breakup, you are taking the lesson that that fragment of yourself was here to teach you, and you can take the lesson and the blessing, but that part of you can be officially released along with the relationship. Thank you. Ready for my next level. That's a suffering for sure. People suffer a lot because sometimes they're in survival mode. They can't find the job that they know they deserve. They're tired of being perceivingly broke. They're tired of not having the lifestyle that they feel they've worked so hard to earn. What part of you is attached to the illusion that that is a lifestyle you want? What part of you is attached to the current lifestyle? Those are two fragments of yourself. Really understand them. Like maybe the part of you that wants this lifestyle is a fragment of you that isn't really you. It's an illusion of you. Or maybe it's a fragment of you that will not come back to self until the fragment of you that is living in scarcity can release that perspective, that mindset. So it's about understanding that everything in our lives that is perceivingly bringing us suffering is here to bring us into more light. It is dismantling the formed density that we have so that we can graduate to light. And I know it's like, oh, yay, suffering. What a great deal. But it's what you came here for, not for suffering. It's alchemy. We make it suffering by attaching that emotion to it. So even in the last episode, when I mentioned the stations of the cross and the station that signifies suffering, but Yeshua wasn't saying you're going to suffer like me and look at me suffer and that's going to be you. It was more of a telling of the alchemy, of the fact that if you're going to be light and you're going to come down to the density of the 3D, the process of returning to your divine self in the higher dimensions is going to take some dismantling of the density to allow more light in. And for that to take place on the planet of human experience, there has to be a storyline that supports the emotional growth, because you can't have the light growth without the emotional growth and the emotional mastering. You can't master the higher emotions without mastering the lower ones. You see how this experiment works? It's all divinely designed to help you grow, but it doesn't always feel like it. It doesn't always feel like it. What's another form of suffering that people have? Diseases. But here's the thing. Some souls before coming here agreed to have certain challenges in their physical health so that they could strengthen their spiritual health. And I know that people that are suffering might not want to hear that. Who would want to hear that? Hey, you have cancer because you wanted it. It's really not about that. It's about knowing where the soul left off before its last incarnation. So I had a to be continued. Like maybe you were like a professional athlete in a past life, but you were a douche. Well, when you go back to the place where you plan your next incarnation and you are checking in with self and you are like, I am points away from undouching myself. What can I do? Well, you're going to think creatively. Well, if I have to end up in a wheelchair in this lifetime, that gives me a chance to be all about the spirit. That gives me a chance to make up some points in this human experience for the douchiness and be this like really beautiful, kind, grateful person that just can't like walk. I don't know. That's just an example. Okay. The soul comes up with these creative ways to be continued. Its last incarnation to be able to continue to get the points that really help the soul grow and help the soul ascend. And you came here to do that because you can't truly earn as many points in the ascension process in dimensions where there's no emotional mastery to be done. But at that point, once you get there, you've already done it. Now, another thing to know about suffering loves itself. And that's where suffering can be a trap. Suffering loves to spiral. Negative emotions love to spiral themselves down. So one negative emotion, what that does to your nervous system, to your emotional body, it puts it in a place where in order to feel safe, it has to feel like those feelings are welcome. So it welcomes more of them. And it can be a trap. And that's something that they don't tell you in the fine print before coming down here. But it can be more contagious to be in your suffering and to identify with your suffering than it can be with your joy. Because joy just is. You're entering the state of just being, that divine Holy Spirit joy. The Holy Spirit is like, oh, when it just enters your body. I mean, I've had moments where I'm just like laughing and then I'm crying from joy. That's Holy Spirit, okay? You're meant to be here in your joy. So when you're in your joy, you just are. When you're in the negative emotions, your soul knows like this feels weird. This isn't what I'm here for. This is uneasy. And the negative emotions like more and more and more so that this can feel more like home, but you're actually distancing yourself more from home. The home that is your heart, joy, energy. So it's important to be aware that when you have something that puts you in the negative scale of emotion, really identify what is the thing. Focus on that one thing. Because what you might be tempted to do is think about that and then think of all the things that put you in a negative emotion. And that's happening and that's happening. And where it rains, it pours, am I right? And it's like, dude, unspiral yourself. Spiral that up. Spiral that up. But the thing is, it's harder because then we fall into victim mode. So you have all these things that are now going wrong, and now you're the victim, and now you have identified with your suffering. And now that is how you put yourself out there to receive love. I have witnessed this in people I love, and it's the saddest thing. It's the saddest thing to feel like their health diagnosis gone bad or their medications or their health shortcomings are how they seek love. It breaks my heart. But you have to know that you are spiraling yourself down and you need to identify one thing that kickstarted the negative emotion and go with that. Pick one thing. Okay, well, my weight. My weight made me feel like I can't work out. I can't do this. Now I'm going to the doctor because this, like, okay, find that one thing, get to the source of it, and make that your inspiration to spiral it up. Let that challenge be an opportunity. Okay, I have a direction of where to go in this experiment, this video game of life. I can earn points there for my soul if I catch that I am here to really have that quote unquote pain point, but the pain point is really an opportunity point. If you can look at it as an opportunity point, you can understand that from a much grander scale, you came here for that opportunity. But if you get stuck in this, woe is me and I'm suffering, and I guess I should suffer because that's what Yeshua, the Christ, did on the cross. Eh, which takes me to my next point. And this one is really what that listener question gave me permission to talk about. That religion glorifies suffering, and why are we led to believe that if you suffer, you will be rewarded? You are not here to suffer. You are here to alchemize. You are here to grow. You are not here to suffer. And if I had say, correction, when I have say, I'm going to go and see how many churches I can get to take down the crucifix with Yeshua nailed on the cross and show him more in his kingship. I was actually just talking about this with my men at the kingship retreat I just did. Him and his glory, or him with his beautiful face, like him really showing, hey, I did and I proved what I said that I was, Son of God. And you will be able to do greater things than this. But instead, they show him in his suffering. Why do you think that is? It's for control. It is for control, because deep down, every time you look at Yeshua nailed on a cross, you are being slightly wired to believe that, one, if you claim your divine inheritance, if you claim that you are king, queen, if you claim the legacy that you are inherently descended from, you will be punished. Hello, that's like what we look at since kids. You walk into church and you see Yeshua hung on a cross with like a little skirt, and it's just like, okay, do you think he would want that? No. We're close and personal. I know he doesn't want that. Since I was a kid, I'm like, I'm going to help rebrand you, Yeshua. What do we have to do? And I know that changing the aesthetic of church is one of them, because nobody should walk in and see him being mocked and suffering. They should see him in his kingship. And that should be the inspiration to show up and connect with God and be here having this experience. And he was showing mastery, soul mastery. So we already knew his whole life here. He was obviously emotionally mastered. And what he was demonstrating is that you can master the full alchemy of transcending the physical body and returning to light. And that's why the resurrection was witnessed. That is why Mary Magdalene was there to bear witness, because if not her, who? If not now, when? Sorry, had to. She was the witness to the resurrection so that we all could believe and know that it can be done. And just so you know, Yeshua came back in his light body to visit and continue to commune with Mary Magdalene, with the female apostles and the male apostles. So the resurrection had to be witnessed for this to be complete. But the resurrection is the glory. So why don't we show more of the glory? Because we are trying to keep us from our glory? Why don't we show more of the glory? Could it be because perhaps they're trying to infuse fear into the glory? Don't want that glory because you might end up like this. I think there's a lot of manipulation in that. And I do believe that it is important for humans to know that suffering does not earn you brownie points in the heavenly realms. It is the ability to go through alchemy, light alchemy, heart alchemy, and not spiraling down, but spiraling it up. And suffering is just an emotional read of that. This is just what we call it. We call it suffering because it's hard. But nobody says, oh, I'm going to go to the gym to suffer. Well, maybe some people do, right? They're like, I'm going to go work on my bod. Okay, work on your light bod. When something shows up, identify the pain point and be like, what opportunity is this pain point bringing me? And how am I going to alchemize this and stay on one point? Do not spiral. A spiral just kind of gets bigger and bigger. So you're going to want to find a lot of things that have similar frequency to that pain point. And all of a sudden, you have all these random things, some of them which happened like 5 years ago, but they kind of match the frequency so they can keep the spiral down going. And meanwhile, you just had this one opportunity point to work on. So identify when you are suffering. Maybe it's an emotional pattern, and maybe it's an emotional pattern attached to storylines with different people. Observe them. What fragment of yourself is attached to each storyline? Chances are it's either one fragment repeating itself, showing you that fragment of you is ready to be released and graduated. But it can't be released and graduated until you understand why and have the lesson and the blessing from it. But you understand why it's ready to be graduated. So if you have the same drama line with like 4 or 5 different people, hello, this fragment of you is showing you like, I cannot integrate into the light being that you're trying to be. So give me some time. Give me an opportunity to be alchemized. Spend time with me. Don't just brush it under the rug. Don't project that it's them. It's that aspect of you. And bring it to the opportunity table. Make it your opportunity point. Don't sit in your room eating the Ben and Jerry's suffering over these relationships. You're missing the opportunity. You're missing the very beautiful, higher self-orchestrated illustration of a fragment of you that's ready to be graduated. Understand the assignment. Life is so much better when we understand the assignment. It's just that sometimes the emotional body can make it blurry to understand the assignment, because then the assignment becomes suffering. And when you're in the assignment of suffering, you better believe you're going to find different reasons to suffer. I know people too that love to enter the suffering emotional state for everything happening for everybody. And their storyline becomes, I feel too much. I care too much. It's not that, is that it's easier for you to project your emotional unhealed self onto other storylines that aren't yours to justify that frequency or that fragment of you living in you. So, okay, I'm dairy free. So why the milkman? Or maybe because I'm wearing white, we'll see. The milkman tripped across the street because, we still have milkmen. And he fell and he is bleeding and he's going to need an ambulance and he's having a rough day. Okay, so compassion. I'm going to go help the milkman. And I'm also going to tell him other job opportunities that there are in 2026 other than being a milkman. I'm going to, give him energy. I'm going to pray for him. And then I'm going to let him get in his ambulance and go continue his soul journey, his experience of graduating that one. I'm not gonna sit at home like this milkman and just like crying about it and making it my thing and then convincing myself that I just feel too much. That's not your pain point when he had happened. However, you feeling those frequencies surge up, that emotional reaction, now you get to sit with yourself and ask yourself, why is the milkman falling about me? And why do I want to go into this emotional state? And understand what fragment of you is like, hello, because I'm here and I used to carry that frequency and I'm still here. I haven't been graduated. And until you graduate me, you're going to find things happening around you or create them because I'm just fragment number 11 with the frequency of da 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 da, showing you that this is a fragment of you that cannot be remembered into the next level self that you're trying to become. And that's when spirit shows up. And in your low moments, in your come to Yeshua moments, that is when you really surrender because you're finally like, I can't try to figure out why I'm suffering. Or maybe you can, but it's just too much. There's a moment where it's too much, where the heart just has broken. And that's when spirit can really enter the cracks of that broken heart and expand it to more light. And sometimes it has to be such a rock bottom that you can't even try to conceptualize it with your mind. You just have to have that reset. Like, I just hit rock bottom. I need a reset because in this human experiment, I am not understanding that there's an opportunity there, or maybe I'm calling in a bigger opportunity. Sometimes you're just ready for a big, big upgrade, and it has to come by way of expanding your heart's capacity to have emotional intelligence, emotional mastery, and light. But the road to that is a broken heart. Why do you think that Yeshua and Mary, when they point at the Sacred Heart, a lot of times it has like a sword through it, it has like a thorn crown. It doesn't look like a beautiful, like wow, shiny heart. For the most part, it has a symbol in there of suffering, but that's just that alchemy. That's just reminding you that sometimes the density that the form that is ready to be broken, open to be expanded to let more light in. Sometimes the density that you're used to needs to be dismantled so that it can have more light. And that appears to be broken, but really what's happening is that you are being softened to be more in your light. And if you can approach suffering as that, oh, this is just my emotional read on what is happening. But if I have higher intelligence, I know that this pain point is an opportunity point. And how can I transcend this and master the emotion without letting it spiral me down? You understand the assignment. And then you're onto something. Suffering is not something to be rewarded or desired. There is the martyr syndrome. We all know that person that thinks that they are so Mother Teresa-y because they think they're sacrificing so much for so many people. But truth be told, a real saint, I don't think keeps track of everything they do or even perceives themselves as that because that's all they know. But they have such emotional mastery that they can show up and serve without being the emotional mess in the room. You think Mother Teresa was visiting the starving children and crying because, oh my God, you look so hungry. Nobody loves you. No. Emotional mastery is what made her have the ability to serve. So mastering those emotions is a big part of this human experiment. Mastering the emotions while still having them and still expanding your capacity to feel. There's no reward for suffering, but I do believe that there is reward for going through the alchemical process, which does come with some challenges that can be perceived as opportunities. And the minute that you can really transcend that challenge to an opportunity, your suffering can lighten because you can just understand, I'm in the thick of this resistance workout. I am having heart expansion, and this is the process of getting there. I have to feel a little bit of a crack because it's like broken, but it's really expanding. And I can't wait to the part where I get to just fill that with more love and more light and give purpose to this pain. And you just have to flex those faith muscles and know that you're in it. And then you're not really in the quote unquote suffering, you're just in the human experiment. And then we look at the glorified, risen, resurrected self, and that's what we celebrate. But we know that it wasn't by way of just, "Doo-doo, I'm there." We know that there's a story there. And we honor the story and we share the story and we feel moved to, but we don't obsess over the suffering. That was just the way to get to the risen self. Okay, so now for my personal share. I want to share this story because I've shared about it, like in past blogs, I wrote about it. I've touched on it at one of my keynotes, but I think it's so important to share it and the trajectory of what that continues to mean to me because I want to show you how nothing is in vain and nothing's like, "Doop, heal that next." Heartbreak can truly be a gift that we continue to resurrect at new levels and we continue to learn and grow from and just receive the gift. So I'm going to share with you the story of my stillbirth. And keep in mind that I'm going to kind of give you like a quickie. I'm not, okay. I'm going to keep it not too long. And this is such perfect orchestration, once again, from my higher self who's like leading the show here because today, if I publish this on time, if I publish this in 2 days, is the anniversary of my son, Gemeriah, who was stillborn in 2009. Now, this date, April 24th, always has this significance to me. The significance that it's had since 2009 till now, I don't feel like doing math, but what is that? 17? Oh my God, 17. Holy sevens. Okay. I like that I just did math. The significance and me looking back on the journey, it's massive. So I'm going to share with you. Okay. So in 2009, I am pregnant with my second. I have Izzy and she's like young. She's like 1. She's young. Of course she's young. She's like barely 1 when I don't even know. Me getting pregnant with Gemeriah was one of those things where I'm like, "How?" Because I, like, was on the mini pill, I was nursing, the things that you do to not get pregnant, I was doing them for, like, the majority of my children, so guess I'm pretty fertile, uh, but anyways, I'm pregnant with Gemeriah, I'm, like, about 8 months pregnant, and just having a regular day. I think we went to Dairy Queen, this is back where I drank dairy, maybe that's where the milkman thing came in, I'm just like, Back to the Future. So, we went to Dairy Queen, it's like a Sunday, and Izzy's just energetic, she always had a lot of energy, and she always wanted to give it all to me, so yay. Still does. Um, and I just started to feel a little crampy. And I'm like, "That's weird." I had a little weird cramp that I didn't recognize, but I felt the baby move, but I'm like, "Is the baby moving like normal?" I don't know, but it's nighttime, so I don't wanna be all paranoid, so I just kinda let it be an observation. Go to bed the next day, I feel like I'm not really feeling the movement that I would normally feel. And I'm starting to get concerned. But I'm trying to play it cool because at this time, I'm in a marriage with my high school sweetheart. Loved him so much, still love him in a different way. But the marriage is like emotionally like, eh. Like he's not a very emotionally intelligent human. I don't mean that he's like intelligent in other ways, but when it comes to emotional intelligence, like he'd probably be in the emotional intelligent short bus. And I think he would have no desire to upgrade. He'd be like, "This is great, less passengers." Like he just wouldn't even be like, "I want to be more emotionally intelligent." He's fine. He's like, it is what it is. So I didn't want to make a big deal because I knew that if I said something, he was just gonna be like, "I'm not gonna worry about it," and then I was gonna feel whatever, This is 2009 Salwa, not where I am now, obviously. So I don't say anything, and then eventually I call the doctor. I'm like, "I'm not feeling as much movement. I had this weird cramp last night. What should I do?" They tell me to do the orange juice trick. Drink OJ, wait 40 minutes, lay on your side, you should feel movement. Like, cool. I like orange juice. I like laying on my side. I could do this. So I did that, felt nothing. Now I'm getting concerned. And am poking around, feeling nothing. And now this is like that moment where your intuition kind of knows this is not good, but you're still trying to convince yourself otherwise. And I call my ex, ask him to come home from work. I say, I'm not feeling the baby move. I think I need to go to the hospital. Can you come stay with Izzy so that I can go? I'm still trying to be so cool that I'm going to take myself to the hospital for what I have a feeling is not good because I didn't want us to go there and they feel a heartbeat. And I had this feeling that he might make fun of me. Like, that's how emotionally short bus he was. So he might have and thought that it was cute. So I go by myself. I grab a book. I think I grabbed Twilight. I don't know, you guys. Back then, I don't even remember if I actually read the book 'cause it's really fat. But I had it and I took it to so many places thinking I might read it. So I get to the hospital and I thought I was gonna wait or something. And it's like they were waiting for me and they took me right in to this nurse room. She comes in with the Doppler, puts the gel, the Doppler's on my belly, nothing. Now, I'm 8 months pregnant. At this point, the Doppler picks up the heart rate from like across the room. So I already know and I can look at her face and even 2009 Salwa was pretty fluent in vibes. And I'm like, her vibe says, oh shit, even though she's trying to keep it cool. So now she comes in with the ultrasound machine. She comes in with the ultrasound machine. I'm like, okay, good. Because maybe the baby's just like really tucked away, really stilly, taking a very good nap. And the ultrasound machine will get to the bottom of it and we'll find it and I'll get some relief. So she's poking around, looking with the ultrasound machine, and I'm looking, and I know the things that I have been used to seeing, and I'm not seeing them. And she grabs my hand. I will never forget the way this woman looked at me. It was the most pity face ever. And she says, I'm so sorry, your baby has no heartbeat. And I'm just like the life just got sucked out of me. It's like the life got sucked out of me, but I'm so in shock that I can't even act sad. There was just what? And then she asks, is there someone that you like to call? Which I'm thinking, yeah, God, I'd love to be like, where the fuck are you? But I really don't know who I want to call. I don't know. I guess I have to call the father of my children. I think I have to call my parents because, my moms have to come in town, help with Izzy so Peter can be with me. This is too much. I'm processing that you just told me that my baby died, the baby that I'm on the countdown to bring home. And now who to call? So I think I called Peter, let him know. Then I called my parents. It was the hardest phone call. Actually, calling my parents was really hard. And my dad started working on flights for my mom to come. We were living in Ohio at the time, as if this wasn't depressing enough. Sorry. If you live in Ohio, I love parts of it. So my mom's going to be arriving, but probably the next day at her front, take care of Izzy, and Peter came to be with me. And from there, I got rolled into labor and delivery and then started 3 days of just the worst. I call it cruel and unusual punishment. And this is the part where I'm just questioning God because I had been a freaking good human. I had gotten my pregnant booty to church. I taught Bible study to like really annoying kids and in my pregnant, tired self, getting up extra early to go teach them Bible study when they didn't want to be there. And I wasn't sure that I wanted to be there, but I'm like, I'm doing the thing because I love God and they're going to love God too. And I'm thinking, like, why am I being punished? Why don't I get to have my baby live? Why am I being punished? What did I do? This is like the Catholic in me. That thing, I'm like, I'm being punished. What did I not properly like confess for? I'm just wondering, like, where's God? I don't know if I can believe in God. I don't want to talk to God. I don't want to pray. This is too much. So I get rolled into my labor and delivery room, and I know the wing where the live babies are born. I'm taken to the wing where the not live babies are born, and it's a whole different vibe. It's dark, it's sad. And here's the worst part. Even though it's like different things on the doors, they don't have like the whole like what's it called? The little I don't remember the animal with the whatever that delivers babies. We don't have that. We have other things on the door, but we can still hear the babies crying from the other aisle in the hallway. So that's why it's punishment, because I'm hearing babies cry as I'm getting rolled to go into labor and delivery for my dead baby. And it's just really hitting me. Like, I'm not going to get to hear my baby cry. When I get rolled out of here, that baby will no longer be with me. Like, it's all just starting to to sink in. And of course, labor is not fun. So we're going to induce labor. And even though I'm 8 months, so like a month early, the baby's a little smaller. The pushing part's probably going to go faster, but they said the labor, you still have to dilate to 10. Yay. So, they start with all the labor inducing things. She gave me a medicine pill that I really enjoyed because it made me really tired. And then at one point I saw like dancing ponies. I'm like, what is this? And can I have some to go? But no, nothing to go. Other than that pill, that kind of helped a little bit. I still couldn't sleep. Couldn't sleep. They were surprised because most people with that pill, whatever it was, I didn't even ask. I didn't even care. I'm like in my feelings. I'm in my everything. I'm in my questioning God. I'm in my like I'm about to go into labor. I'm in my like extreme like sadness about to pour in. I don't care what's in the pill. But supposedly it was supposed to help me sleep and I just couldn't. So me and the dancing ponies were just awake and I was just crying and I was just thinking of all the ways that I was going to change my life. And I actually was negotiating with God. I'm like, listen, if you resurrect my child, if you resurrect this baby, here's all the things that I will do differently. I won't be trying to have a fashion business. You probably just want me to be like full stay-at-home mom. I'll be a better mom. I'll be better to my family. I'll never miss her. I'm like negotiating hardcore because clearly this is a verdict from God. And I'm like, maybe I can convince him that this was not the right choice and we can just resurrect him a la Yeshua, That's not happening, obviously, but these are all the things going through my head. All the ways I'm going to change my life. I will never do anything other than be a mom because I'm clearly being punished for thinking that I want to do more. So I'm in labor and it's just really sad. It's really sad. You're in this labor room. And normally labor, it's a countdown to meet your live baby, but I'm in the countdown to birth, death. And I don't know what he's going to look like. Is he going to look all dead? And are they going to like just take him away? Like, I don't know. It's this unknown. Like, at least when you're going to give birth to your live baby, it's going to hurt a little bit. At the end, there is this extreme moment of joy. But in my case, it's going to hurt a little. And at the end of it, it's going to hurt a lot more. And that is what I was going through. So finally the time came to push. And just for like the split second, there was this like inkling of excitement. Like it's time, that feeling of like, it's time to push. I was like, it's time. And when Gemeriah came out, nothing could have prepared me or Peter. I can't really fully speak for him, but I think this was the first moment where he also got initiated into some feelings that he never had to experience before, such as intense grief and sadness. Because when Gemeriah came out, he looked so beautiful. He looked so angelic. Didn't look dead. He had his little hands by his chin, and I just lost it. This baby is immaculate to me, and this is my baby. Try not to get emotional. This is my baby. And then seeing Peter cry and me cry, I'm like, it's hard to find faith in a higher orchestrating hand at that point, because if I had faith in a higher orchestrating hand, there's no way that I would have liked that hand. So it was easier for me to just tune that out than to believe that this was a higher orchestrating hand. That's not one I want anything to do with. So when Gemeriah was born and looked so beautiful, all I wanted to do was hold him. Now keep in mind, my body doesn't know the difference. It doesn't know that it just birthed a dead baby. So my milk starts coming in, the boobs hurt, my vajayjay hurts, everything hurts. It's like a real birth. I'm bleeding, milk wants to come in, but I can't have milk come in. So we're just going to ice everything. And here's your dead baby. Hold him. So I held him. I even put my finger in his little hand. I wrapped his hand around it and I just stared at it forever. His little face. I think I'll share a picture. You guys are watching on video. You get to see a picture. So here's my little Gemeriah. I swear I would look at him forever. There were moments where I would think that he was squeezing my finger. Like I was legit going crazy because I'm like, he's squeezing my finger. And there are moments where I thought I saw him breathe and I was like, are you sure that he's like dead? I was grasping on for any hope that potentially he was alive or coming back. But he wasn't. But it is just the eyes of love that I was seeing him through, that I just could not look at him as a dead baby. But I had to, because in came in the crew to talk about, are you going to want to cremate your baby? We'll talk about that, the paperwork for that. I'm like, are these people like for real right now? Like, where's the compassion? So I fill out the paperwork. We're going to have him cremated. They're going to pick him up for cremation tomorrow. So in my mind, I'm like, you have one day to hold this baby. And then he's off. Then they come in and ask us if we want pictures taken. And I'm thinking like, are they crazy? Are they trying to make fun of us? Baby pictures? It really, in my mind, just felt like an insult. And then they explained how it was going to be probably something that I'll be really happy we had. And so I agreed. Absolutely, they were right. And I'll show you the pictures. This picture right here is like my favorite. This picture right here, we're going to circle back to later when it popped into my mind and when I put this together with something else. Let's just remember it. But this picture, if I didn't have this picture, I would be, well, I'd still be the same person, but it would suck. I'm so happy I have this picture. And I'm so happy we did the photo shoot, even though it was really hard. And we were trying to get the shoot in really fast because they let me know he's going to start to look a little more dead. He's going to look a little more purple, cold. And in my mind, I'm like, I have one day. God, can you just preserve him? Even though I don't know if I believe in you, but if I get some pity requests, can you just preserve him a little bit for the day so I can cuddle a baby that doesn't feel like an ice cube and doesn't start to look purple, doesn't start to look dead? And can my mom get to see him not looking so dead? I'm worried about my mom because my mom is very emotionally weak. So even in my pain, I was worried about my mom because I didn't know she could really handle it, that she was on her way. Her flight had landed and she was on her way to the hospital. And of course, when my mom arrived, it was like feeling it all over again because I know how much this is hurting her. I know how much it's hurting me. And all we can do is cry. She kissed his little head and just held him. And in my mind, I loved it, but I was also like, Mom, I only have like a certain number of hours. Can I have my baby back? Like, I'm like, this is the countdown to turn this baby in. So then I had time, still no sleep, no more dancing ponies, just like the stark reality of what is that I have birth and I'm holding my dead baby that is looking and feeling more dead every hour. I don't even care about my physical body at this point. I'm in pain. Don't give a shit. I felt like I deserved the pain. There were moments where they brought me medicine for my pain, and I was like, should I even take that? Like, I deserve to be in pain. My body failed to do one thing that it was supposed to do, keep your baby alive. I deserve to be in pain. I'm observing my ex eating Chipotle and watching football. I'm like, I hate Chipotle and I hate football because how can he eat Chipotle? I couldn't eat. I could barely drink water. He's eating a burrito and watching the game. And I'm just like, what in the actual fuck? And that was a really beautiful moment when I look back on when I realized like how men and women heal differently. Now, granted, we did emotionally short bus him, but still, he was able to compartmentalize his pain to be able to watch the game and eat, and then he'd come back to it. And it allowed me to see the intricacies and the difference of emotional processing in men and women. I'm not saying that he's like the archetype for like all men. No, no. That's probably a good thing. I'm just saying that observation's important. So then I think a minister came and said some words that did his little handprints. And I know the time is coming and I just really don't want it to come. And I'm just holding him and crying and holding him and refusing to sleep because if I sleep, I'm going to miss precious time with my baby. And then I just hear a knock on the door. This is like day 2 and they're here to take him. And they're like, you can say your goodbyes. And this part, I think at this point, this was like the nail on the coffin moment. This was the final acceptance. It is done. He's dead. Time to let him go. And I just couldn't. I couldn't. I held him and I held him. It's the hardest thing to do. Even for a dead baby. He smells like a baby. He looks like my baby. I love this baby. And I have to turn him in to go get cremated. So I put him in his little bed, and I just remember throwing myself over that bed. And Peter just taking me back, and then they rolled him away. And that was it. That was it. There went 8 months of growing something so beautiful in my womb. There went life. as I knew it for him, he's dead. And there went life as I knew it for me. Because after that, I had to resurrect myself from a death. I've had to do that a couple times in different levels. I think that was like level 1, but it was the emotional death, like nothing I had ever experienced. I don't even remember how I got home. I know that there was a moment where I was being rolled out of the hospital. I remember looking at the aisle with the living babies and just being even more sad and just feeling that dagger in my heart. I remember going home, hearing Izzy's voice, "I want mommy, I want mommy." And I'm just like, I don't think mommy's here. Mommy's here, but she's not here. But that little voice in her was probably the only thing that kept me alive, because other than that, I just wanted to die. And I pretty much died for a while emotionally, physically. I was just in bed. I was just wearing black sweatpants and my black UGA hoodie that didn't get washed for a long time. And I didn't want to talk on the phone with anybody. And I was just lifeless. My mom was in town and Peter went back to work. So my mom would randomly come in and give me a very, like, ethnic mom love. Ethnic mom love is a little different than like Caucasian mom love. I think most people can agree. She would just come in, remind me like, "You need to get up, your daughter needs you, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Thanks for the compassion, mom." And then she'd tell me how hard it was for her too. And I'm like, "Yeah, it's a little different, but okay." And I know she was just doing her best, right? Everybody's capacity to show love is very different. My mom loves so hard, but it comes out through her wounds and she can say things that just don't sit right. So we're just going to put that in like ethnic mom love. I don't remember at one point I really resurrected myself from that bed. There was a point where I did. And I remember talking to this man because I'm like, I need to connect with my baby. I need to connect with my baby. And this is 2009 Salwa. So although I have all the clairs and all the abilities that are online now, like beyond what I would have ever imagined then, at the time I needed to talk to a professional. And there was this man, he was like a medium for like people that have passed, and maybe he can let me know that he was okay. The answer felt a little scammy. Just it wasn't his time. I'm like, okay. But then he told me that I didn't need him. He told me that I was a more advanced soul than him and that I would be doing way more things. And I'm like, okay. But like right now, how's my child? Like that's all great. That's all good. But for now, how's my baby? Wasn't his time. Doesn't seem like enough. I don't want to hear about all the amazing things I'm here to do and my soul. Like I want to know how my baby is. That's why I'm paying you. And I didn't get much around that. So at some point, I think it was close to Izzy's birthday. That was a long time of Salwa out. And I remember friends would bring food. They wanted to talk to me on the phone. I couldn't see them. And I felt so bad, but I couldn't see or talk to anybody. I think it was a couple weeks before I could talk to my sisters. Salwa left the building. Like I was there, but I was like a corpse in my bed. I was there, but I was gone. And the only thing that kept me tethered to return was my daughter. I finally get up, and then we go to the hospital support group. And the meeting was nice, met some nice people that all were, in their suffering. But I, once again, witnessed the gap between the women and the men. The men seemed to be more concerned with their wives not moving forward, and they were just wanting to move forward. Not saying they weren't feeling it, but there's a difference in the emotional processing, and I was paying attention because that is where my heart got ignited to help heal the feminine. And at that point, it was strictly the feminine. Like we've evolved a lot now, right? So 2009, I'm observing. There was a share with one of the couples, and she's sharing all her feels and struggles, and he's sharing his story. I'm like, there's no way that he can be the support she needs. And there's no way that she can demand that support of him because he's not capable of giving it to her. And if that's them, I guess that's me and Peter. Okay, here is where I am going to serve. So I started a support group for women called Mommies of Angels because, we birthed angels. And that support group was for women, but we would occasionally bring in the husbands. So it was focused on healing the mothers, bringing them that what I know now is divine mother love. But then I just wanted to bring women together to be each other's support because it was going to be very hard for the masculine in their life to understand what they were going through. I mean, we just gave birth, some of them were having a harder time losing the weight and they still looked pregnant. I felt for them and I felt This is where I give purpose to my pain. Started that group. I would get my broken self out of bed every morning and send them at that point, like, I think it was Bible scriptures and like a little explanation on like, this is how we can use this to heal. Like, I was serving the best way I knew how, but I was serving. And that group is where I poured my heart and soul into. I poured life into it, and they were returning it right back to me. And that was where I really now know that in my birthing death, I really birthed life to the healer within me, to the soul in service to Divine Mother, to what I'm here to do. And that was like my intro, right? Like intro, because not saying that what happened was intro. That was massive. But the way I knew how to serve then, it's like, well, let's just get together and heal our broken hearts. And, I'm creative. So like create some events and give some grace to the masculine being a little not on our bus when it comes to emotions all the time. Not all of them, but for the most part. The men were trying to go back to work, and then they were like compartmentalizing. The women were in their emotional healing and then their physical reminders all day, every day. So different needs. I love that group so much. And that group really sparked that remembrance in me that I'm here to lead Sacred Heart Alchemy. We moved shortly after, and I didn't have that local group anymore to serve. So then I went into healing blanket ministry where I'd make my healing blankets and anoint them with prayer. And I think that got me started on energy work. So it was like the next level. And then I went to the next level where I talked about it, I blogged about it, I became more outspoken about it as well. And I also made myself available at healing rooms in church and, all the steps. Shortly after I got pregnant with my son, Jacob. Jacob was like, I would say, one of my healers. Is he gave me the strength and remembrance of why I still needed to be here. She continues to do that. I'm not saying I want to die, but that is her role. But Jacob, he came in as like my healer. He healed my heart because I could believe in birthing life again and my capacity to do so, even though I did it through the group. I knew intuitively that I was to put this pain to serve before I was going to be receiving the gift of another child. I knew that. I just knew. So I started the group, and then like a month, 2 months later, I was pregnant with Jacob. And that was just a beautiful birth. He was a big baby, healthy and smiley and all the things. Now fast forward to 2012. 2012, end of the world, all the things. Completely unexpected, I am pregnant with my son, Thomas. At this point, I'm extra surprised. I'm like, I thought you had to have sex to have a baby. How did Thomas happen? So, because Peter and I were in a roller coaster of a marriage from pretty much 2010 till I filed for divorce, end of 2017. There was a knowing in me, like, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, because this soul, I can only love them if I don't have to accept that this is my counterpart because they are not growing with me and they have no compassion for anything that I'm going through or desire to help in anything that does not revolve around them. So I just had a knowing. 2012, find out I'm pregnant with Thomas, and I knew right away when Thomas was born. We made eye contact. He didn't cry. He was silent. Like he was alive. And him and I made eye contact, and I just knew. Gemeriah is back. He's back, bitches. Now, I didn't tell anybody. I wasn't like, hey, my dead baby's back. I knew we could resurrect him. Like, I wasn't going to tell that. But I knew this soul came in 2009 to initiate me into something, and they're back in 2012, and there's about to be an end to an old world. Now, I didn't really know that part then. I just knew, like, this is Gemeriah. And this isn't like, wishful thinking, because when Jacob was born, which was like shortly after Gemeriah, I wasn't like, he's back. That thought never even crossed my mind. I never thought that he was Gemeriah. But when Thomas was born, we made that eye contact, and I was like, he's back. What's next, Thomas? Now, Thomas was a very, very clingy baby. Thomas nursed for 2 years. So it's like he was making up for his Gemeriah lifetime and this one. And furthermore, 2012 was when everything just like skyrocketed for me with my business. That was the year where I was like, okay, no more being this like stay-at-home mom, follow Peter around for his job and just kind of backburning my business. I'm going to do whatever it takes to bring my fashion business of empowering women through the joy of fashion. I was always about empowering women, and everything was tied to a cause. I'm bringing it to the forefront because I have an international business degree, fashion design degree. I am smart, I am capable, and yes, I have 3 very small children and no help with like childcare. Peter wouldn't even help me pay for a babysitter so I could work. He was like, "Well, you don't need a babysitter to do your hobby." I'm like, "This isn't my hobby. I'm trying to start a business." These are the little battles that I was living in, but those were actually not pain points. They were opportunities because I was going to launch this business to empower women. Well, I was going to have to start with empowering myself. See, that pain point was an opportunity point, and things just took off. I could go on and on about the opportunities that showed up because I persevered, because I took every little pain point ushered in by my best teacher in that season, Peter, and I brought it to the petri dish of experimentation. I'm like, how is this an opportunity? And let's move some stuff around. Let's take that negative emotion and let's address it, but let's spiral it up and let's go. And from there, everything changed. Now, obviously, between 2012 and 2026, there's been a lot of evolution, and this is just going to be in the book one day because I don't think this could fit in an episode. But let me just tell you this. There was a moment where that picture, the picture that I showed you guys holding Gemeriah, there was a moment where I was connecting with Mother Mary. Now, Mother Mary, she's been one of my guides. Yeshua, I see. Mother Mary, more than anything, I have felt. But I'm like, oh, my mother's name is Mary, so maybe I'm just feeling my Mother Mary's energy, like, traveling around the house. This is a whole different energy. Mother Mary's like, "Fish, please." I'm like, "Sorry, Mom, no." Love her. Love both Mother Marys. But, I mean, I had a couple really world-renowned Akashic readings validate that they're Mother Mary and Lakshmi, like, 2 of my personal guides. I'm like, "Who am I to get them? Like, how does that even work?" I thought they were everybody's guides. But once I could accept that, I started working with her a lot more, and we actually had lifetime time together, which I won't go into. And there was a moment where I was in the chapel. I love going to sacred places to pray. I'm feeling her, and I close my eyes and I see the vision of her holding Yeshua lifeless in her arms. And I'll show you guys the picture I'm talking about. And then all of a sudden it was like the slide, and I see me holding Gemeriah. And that's when I clicked into place. Like, this was my initiation into walking this path of service to the Divine Mother. Was I gonna know that at the time? No. I was gonna be like, where the fuck is God? That's just that, right? I was suffering. But at a soul level, how else would I have gone into the journey of healing the brokenhearted? How else would I know the depths of that mourning? I needed to experience it. I count it as a blessing now because I know and can have compassion for people when they're in the depths of their sorrow because I've been there, but I've mastered it enough to be able to join them, be with them, and spiral them up, not let them spiral me down. How else would I have found myself worthy enough to lead people in their healing other than to be in the trenches with them and see the opportunity and what they needed and take action? Light has a plan, but when you come to earth, it's by way of dark. But it doesn't have to be dark. That's the thing. It doesn't have to be conditioned to a sorrow, suffering life. It's just a sorrow, suffering moment. It's a pain point ushering in an opportunity point. God is not punishing you. God does not make things that are bad happen to you. The force, the good, God just allows because we're here with free will. So to interfere anytime something bad, quote unquote bad, is going to happen, can you imagine? Like, God would be like, I am way above this job. I created the universe and there is divine order in place, but you want to be here experimenting and mastering this wide range of emotions and exercising free will. I can't interfere. So bad things are going to happen and I have to allow it. And it's not that it's not hard to witness. I experience it sometimes in my work. I experience it when I know intrinsically somebody that I'm working to help and heal. There's like this boundary that I cannot cross and interfere with. And if they're not picking up the cues, they're not taking the guidance, they're not keeping up the work, it doesn't matter what I go in there and extract or do. It's up to you with your free will to make the choices that are going to keep you on that path. And with the faith that you can and that it's for the greater good. If you want to believe there's a God punishing you, that is a belief system that you walk around with, then that is what you're going to create in this human experiment. But if you want to believe that if something shows up and it's a pain point, it can be an opportunity point, that is how you can really start mastering these moments. And you can walk around with this field of resonance around you where it's like, I don't have all the answers right now. I don't have all the pieces, but I know this is working for me, not against me. And I am in my faith going to be in the journey of discovering how, knowing that it might take a couple of years. Might take a couple of years, but Earth time is very slow down. I know time is an illusion, but there is also time here, right? It's slowed down. Up there, everything's faster until it's like non-existent. So even though, let's say for me, 2009 till like 2012, when Gemeriah came back as Thomas, and I went to my next level of work, healing, empowerment, whatever, ascension work. What else can we insert there? That was a couple years of lifing. I wasn't walking around like going through my healer initiation. What are you up to today? I was like, holy shit, life's hard. Holy shit, my husband is emotionally dead. Oh my God, when can I replace him? Like, I wasn't like having the view that you have on the other side of it, but I had faith. And that is a muscle that gets you through the resistance training. And then the surrender to having the full picture right now. You might be in it. You don't know what's been orchestrated for you. And this is God, but this is also the God in you. So your divine self orchestrating things for you, for your ascension, for your growth, for your expansion. But you might be in like the second quarter of the game, trying to judge if you won or lost. You're still in the game. Enjoy the game. Go drink some water, hydrate, and get in there and enjoy, knowing that whatever it comes at the end, it's a win. If you can have faith, then you're not really suffering. You're just resistance training using the muscle of faith, and you are alchemizing your matter, your darkness to be able to break open and expand to hold more light. And then you're also being shown and identifying fragments of you that either need to be pieced back together to be remembered, and fragments of you that need to be released and graduated. It's all an opportunity, and it's all for the greater good. Now, what you want to be aware of is that, yeah, there are dark forces. There are dark parasitic entities that want to take your energy. All of that, yeah, sure, it's real, but they can't do anything unless you give it away. Watch episode number 2, Journey into Transcending Darkness, so you understand how that works. So that when things like this happen, you don't spiral down thinking that the devil is out to get you. And then you completely discredit your intelligent higher self that is just trying to give you an opportunity by way of alchemy, because that's how we grow here. All right, this episode has been long enough. So I'm going to close this up in prayer. Dear Mother, Father God, I give so much gratitude for my listeners, and I ask that they be given perspective on what they might perceive to be their suffering. I ask that the opportunity points showing up in their life be amplified with light so that they may lean in, they may flex those faith muscles, they may take the opportunity to rise, to expand, to break the heart open if that's what's necessary to allow more light in so that they can amplify the light around their field and around all of those that they love and love them, and then they can see the good all around them even while they feel the challenges, knowing that everything is working for them. I ask all of this with ease and grace, and so it is in all space and time. I am. Thank you for tuning in to the Feminae Christi podcast. Your presence here is the greatest gift. If you would like to help grow this movement and help this energetic container reach more people, it is also greatly appreciated for you to share with anybody and everybody that you feel would benefit from this container. Your likes, comments, engagement also help me to better serve you. I would love to know what lands with you, what you want more of. Until next time, go out there and shine that light.